23 of the show, the Math Podcast. How you doing this week? Let's see. When's the last time I did a show? A month ago or so. I don't remember. And appropriately, this week I have with me, I'm trying to dip my toes back in the water. Been out, had some moving, some light changes, and I'm settled into the new crib with a screen door doesn't close all the way, which means bugs come in. And if you live in the South, you know there are some funky fucking bugs out here. So anyway, Zach, how you doing?
Good. I feel I just saw somebody do an interview program where they had they weren't staring at their camera. So I was like, let me do a side angle. That's what I did in the show this week. And I'm like, it feels weird, like it not looking directly at you, even though I'm going to turn into cement if I do. So it's a bit of a problem.
First of all, we're going to get the beers out of the way tonight. Zach, what you drinking?
Well, this is the official beer of the show, Dragon's Milk. And then, in case that isn't enough, Founders, KBS, a flavored stout. A former whale that now is gathering dust on many shelves because not as many people buy expensive beer anymore, I guess.
No, it's like fucking $23 for a 4-pack or something. Some ridiculous. And
it's got coffee, and I'm like, about coffee.
Well, I went to the opening when they released it. I know you're impressed. Here in Nashville, I think I had last year's and this year's. I got blasted. I was drinking every fucking thing. We got swag and stuff. I got a glass and stuff, but that was fun. But I don't know if I'd buy it again. That's just not worth it, unless somebody buys it for me.
We'll see you next time in Nashville,
huh? Anyway,
man can dream.
I am drinking myself. Go figure. I've been drinking too. I wanted to go a little lighter in the spirit of October, even though it's 100 fucking degrees in October. I know. This is Brooklyn Oktoberfest. I've had several Oktoberfest beers, and this one's not bad. So far, Sierra Nevada's one is pretty good. They did that in association with.
Yeah, even though they're kind of a micro, they're like one of the big small companies.
They're not really.
They basically just have a German company do their Oktoberfest for them, and it's a different one every year, which is kind of cool. And it's everywhere in stores. There's a bunch of good stuff out there. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a good thing craft beers are sneaking into even redneck. Well, depends where you are. There's at least one or two things that isn't Bud, Coors, Natural Ice.
How about White Claw?
No. That should be illegal. As long as well as a Natural Light pink lemonade or whatever the fuck.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a version of those sour beers that people make fun of me for drinking. But, my brother and sister-in-law, they're always into the trends, so they had it. And, they were, like, selling out. So the whole alcoholic seltzer market, I should have got in on the ground floor because it's really super popular, even though I can't imagine it's much tastier than, like, a Bud Light.
Yeah, it's gross. So anyway, I figured this week we talk about the latest. Well, I don't know the latest, but one of the bigger the kerfuffles that are taking place in the atheist community within the last month or so, I guess. I don't know if anybody recalls what happened to the old Silvermeister, the Silvster, the womanizing bastard, or whatever. David Silverman, he was fired from American Atheists, and he was accused of sexually assaulting a couple of women. Probably read the BuzzFeed article when it all came out, and so that's what happened, and he's been gone for, I don't know, it's been like a year, I think. Well, he has reemerged like a shitty phoenix from the ashes of his own feces into the wild, and he is now a firebrand for good. Okay, that's his little nom de plume or whatever now. Firebrand for good. And he's making the rounds on the old podcasts. And he's suing. He is suing American Atheists, Matt Dillahunty, and Beth Presswood. Now, the other two, the only reason I'm saying this is because it's public now. They were the two that were in the BuzzFeed article, and Beth is one of the ones that has accused him of sexual assault. I'm not sure who the other one is. I don't think it really even matters. So I saw him because I'm a whore for these sort of things. I saw him on the Atheist Republic podcast. That one was a little more objective, I guess, because he did question him on some shit, right? And then I saw him on Sargon, and of course, he was sucking his dick figuratively, of course. He was kissing his ass the whole time. So
it's interesting because, I made a joke that David Silverman was going to be like headlining at Mythicist Milwaukee this year, and you took it seriously and posted it, and he actually joined the masses like 2 years ago when everybody was saying, yeah, having that Sargon guy on MythCon, that's a bad call for the atheist community. And then as soon as, it's amazing, like you can really pick your side in the atheist community. If you want to be like a right-wing asshole, you got a lot of options. And if you want a lot of people who are sympathetic to a voice, I hope we're getting past this whole like strong man, always white man seems to be attitude, but we'll see. But yeah, I guess I joined the Atheist Republic like mailing list, so I saw it and I didn't want to watch it, but I was like, oh yeah, he's telling his side and only his side. And I'm sure most of the interviews he's doing, because there was a podcast, Atheist Edge, they were talking about, they were going to have him on. They were on that call to Dusty in the chat room. I didn't really know, there's so many podcasts, you don't know who they are. And of course, Free Thought Profit, the guys who had Lawrence Krauss on, and
let's
just talked about science, because there's nobody else you can talk about science with except Lawrence Krauss. He's the only one. There's no one else you can talk about atheist stuff besides David Silverman. And about women be lying, I'll say women be lying because I don't want to say any other harsher language on the show yet. But it's, people are just running to him, like desperate to have him on because he's a big name. And I wouldn't think that would be the case anymore, but we don't have that many big names, I guess, in the community.
Yeah, they have a long shelf life, unfortunately. They're like herpes, right? So you go away for a while, but then every once in a while they flare right back up again. I mean,
it is a good time for if Silverman wants to do another book saying that like SJWs suck, because like Peter Boghossian has a new book out. James Lindsay has a new book out. There's a book that Alan Dershowitz has about how Me Too sucks. I mean, this is it's a strong thing. Like it's like kind of YouTube atheist community. Like they went all like, oh, religion is dumb. Oh wait, people are bored with that. Okay, feminism is stupid. Yay, SJWs are dumb. That's like, and thousands of people flock that way. And if you're going the way the wind is blowing, eventually you're just going to realize you don't have anything really talent-wise. Like, it doesn't seem like bad people get punished, but, someone like Milo who's going broke and trying to break into furry conventions, like, what's the last group that can pay me to do things? There's not much left. And so hopefully people who are like this will, not find an audience after a while, but I'm not feeling too confident about that.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Exactly.
White guys have like I said, they have a hell of a staying power. I mean, that's what happens when you've ruled the world for how long, basically? For 2,000 years or longer, whatever. If you're the default, you're always going to make a comeback. So.
Y'all don't know what it's like being male, middle class, and white.
It's a hard thing, man. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Silverman went on Atheist Republic, and his whole shtick is that it's all bullshit, right? Although, here's what he said. He said, yes, that stuff happened with Presswood, but it was consensual, and that she used these phrases. He's like, yeah, those words were used, but I got to tell you the context, right? So, like, he contends that they had some sort of consensual sex act. I'm not getting into it because it's not really relevant. But she's claiming that she on everybody. And you go to the Firebrand for Good website. I'm not going to tell you what his website is. You can find it yourself if you really care. He has like some testimonials on there from people who actually said they were there or some shit like that. Now, most of them I would dismiss because they're white dudes, right? But there was one that was on there that was a woman. What's her name? Rose something. She's a legit reporter. She's from, I think she's on the New York Times, from New York Times or something like that. Anyway, she's a journalist, and she said she saw that Beth and Dave were flirting with each other pretty hard and whatever. So, I don't know. No, but that's the whole thing. If you just inject a little bit of doubt, then it just makes you, then it must, you have to take, we're skeptics. We have to be skeptical of everything.
And these stories come out, and it's something that will surprise some people, but I think any woman who's breathing is like, oh yeah, this is the typical thing. Because sure, David Silverman can tell his story, and maybe there was a misunderstanding involved, but it's just one person's story, and the guy gets listened to and gets platformed and gets people like excited to have him on and tell his side. And probably, I don't do a lot of pushing back on my show because I wouldn't want to have David Silverman on. Like before last year's American Atheist, like every podcast but me and maybe you had him on. And then I feel like they knew something was wrong. And then like a month after the conference, they were like, bye. But they wanted the conference to happen. And, I know at least one person who's on the board, and it's like, we had a lot of stuff that didn't get public. I mean, yeah, he was American Atheist. Like, he was the face of that, and now they really have to figure out what they're doing. But it's like, to get rid of somebody that big, you'd think, yeah, they probably have some stuff. And I don't know about the financial stuff. The weird thing is that Call to Dusty, like he basically blew off the whole financial thing, but he didn't really say why. He just like, I don't think it's legit. I don't know if it had to do with his books. And I heard somebody say that like he had there was some event he did and he had to sell a certain amount of books or else they weren't going to get him. And I could see that happening. I mean, when you do book events, you got to, move product. And I bought the ebook of Fighting God. So yay, I supported that for better or worse.
How could you?
I mean, it wasn't like I read it and I was like, I don't think there's anything that mind-blowing. I mean, he was just like, be an open atheist. And also, he is a conservative. Like, the part that I totally forgot was like, he got into CPAC and he was trying to get atheists into these conservative things. So he has this side to him, and people come running to him.
Well, he's been on all those Fox News shows. He's been on
yeah.
O'Reilly before.
Tide goes in, yeah.
So I mean, you play with them, man. You're going to, some of their shit's going to come off on you. I think maybe. Of course, he probably, like you said, he's probably like that anyway. So I mean, he's able to appeal. I mean, I guess that's what you want in a leader, somebody who can appeal to different sides. And you try to get new members, but do you want members like that? I guess they do, and that's why I kind of have a problem with American Atheists a little bit. Because they don't seem to mind pulling in that kind of membership, But maybe that's just me.
Well, I mean, they publicly got rid of him, so I would guess a lot of his followers probably left with him. I mean, because the issue was so divisive. Like, I was a member 2 years ago, and I didn't renew last year just because of what happened. I was like, I don't really know what's going on. Plus, I was annoyed because they didn't put Mandisa in the presidency.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been like, there's a good move instead of white dude, a black woman who's like an awesome leader, and someone who doesn't get 1/20th the attention she should. And it's like, oh, it was kind of sad to hear. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that was bullshit. I was always a little suspicious of them for some reason anyway. I don't know.
Oh, you're suspicious of everybody, aren't you?
Yeah, that's how you get. Well, I wasn't suspicious enough because I got shunned. Well, how long has it been? A year and a half?
Well, I mean, you got shunned, and I don't see a lot of people a year later running back to like get your side of any kind of story, right?
Sadly, although the perpetrator deleted everything that they said that instigated this whole thing. So whatever, I don't care anymore. I'm good. So let's kind of get back to the silver douche. So you talk about him, financial improprieties that may or may not have led to his downfall. From what I've heard, that's just bullshit. It wasn't the financial. I don't think it was that. Which is why he made a case against American atheists. Depending upon, of course, then again, I don't know what his contract look like. I mean, it's a private business. I mean, they can fire or hire him or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, he probably had a contract of some sort, and I don't know what basis they use to fire him. So I don't know, and I don't really fucking care, honestly. You know.
I mean, maybe it's the kind of stuff people get away with all the time, but I'm sure with him doing events and selling books, who knows? Maybe something can get reported. But I mean, they're a tax-free group, right? So they have to be pretty. They're not a religious group, so they can't, just get away with everything they do and not actually have any books for people to look at. So they really do have to have everything's aligned.
So
pouring a beer live on air, is that?
No, that's great for sound quality. It's a good job. Good job, man.
Let me get close to the mic.
No, make sure you get as close as possible.
Okay, Mr. No Earbuds. Oh, my sound quality.
I found him though. I gotta make sure
I found him. Mm-hmm.
Make sure the cats don't chew him up. But yeah, so if you want to go, and this is well planned because he already had all his ducks in a row before he went, in which of course you would expect that. But he's got he's already done a fundraiser for his legal expenses. He's already raised all the money he needs for that. His followers, like you said, follow him everywhere. So he never was going to have a problem with that. He's done this whole fucking Woe Is Me tour,
Maybe he saw how that guy, Andy No, the guy out of Portland, who's like super white nationalist, even though he's Vietnamese and gay, and how he got punched by Antifa after like basically begging them to punch him, and then he got $200,000 in money that no one's ever going to check on. And David Silverman's probably like, Plus, Richard Carrier sued a ton of people, and I think some of that's still going on.
And they're still raising money.
Being a creepy dude, it doesn't always have as much upside as you'd think. Or maybe it does.
Depends. Well, it depends. I mean, white guys get a lot away with a lot of shit. So, so he's, like I said, he's got his ducks in a row. I heard him on the Atheist Republic, and I got to tell you something. He's good. Okay. You don't get this far without knowing how to fucking manipulate people, right? And he's a good
talker, and he can tell stories. I mean, I saw him. He was in Atlanta once, and I saw him. And
he talked about like him getting shunned from the community after what happened. And dude, I was like, man, I feel you. And I felt bad for feeling him, but it was exactly my experience, right? And that's what I said. It's like Satan's talking to you, man. Get away, Satan. Because
you listen.
But I didn't. I knew he was full of shit, but he's good at what he does. So it kind of got to me on a certain level. But he was talking about he was on the edge of suicide. I was never that far, and all this stuff, and he was crying, all this kind of stuff, whatever, and you can never prove or disprove anything like that. I don't know. Maybe he did feel bad for himself because, well, I'm sure he did because he thought he'd been wronged or whatever. but his ego was such that I'm sure he rebounded fairly quickly. He has plenty of followers. He ain't gonna be worried about that.
We did stay pretty quiet. I don't know if I still follow him on Twitter, but I'm pretty sure like after it all happened, he did just kind of go quiet. And maybe that's the thing. Like you just stay quiet for a while and then people forget, it's kind of like our current political system, like crazy shit happens on a daily basis. So all these way more crazy events happen. And so maybe people will forget. And then people are like, well, I feel sympathy for someone who gets shunned. I mean, he was like the atheist. I wouldn't say he's the atheist community, but he's definitely one of those names that people will remember, one of those voices that was big in the community. And to lose that, but I think there's this big ego aspect of it. Like he just thinks he can rebound and pick something up. Like he was trying to do some kind of transhumanist thing. Like he wants to kind of start some kind of cult and be a cult leader, basically, and get people to send him to conferences and pay him a lot of money, and then have women just flock to him.
Well, that's his life,
and he thinks he can do that. And I think people can be atheist leaders and go to conferences and pick up women and have a good time, but you got to be a little careful and you got to actually give a shit about other people. And I don't know if that's the case with him.
Well, that's the thing, though.
I can't tell like who he is as a person. I'll never really get to know him.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Oh, this is something I thought was interesting. So somehow he recorded a conversation with him and Dillahunty, right? Talking about what happened between Silverman, because apparently Dillahunty wasn't cool with press wasn't him fucking around. And they had Silverman and Dillahunty had a conversation about it. Dillahunty's like, look, man, I'm still want to share a stage with you. Let's not worry about that shit, whatever. So, okay, whatever. I don't know what the fuck that even proves. I don't even know who cares. Who gives a fuck, right? I guess he was just saying it to make it prove that it actually was consensual. I guess it was. I don't know. So
yeah, if somebody had assaulted, and I know he and Beth got divorced, and I don't even care to know what the story was, but it seemed like it was pretty okay between the two of them. But yeah, I guess Silverman's story is like, well, if the guy thought that his ex-wife, you sexually assaulted her, he probably wouldn't be like, cool, I'll be on stage with him. Although he was cool being on stage with Lawrence Krauss until the BuzzFeed thing came out and he finally had to like give in. And I mean, that's the thing. Like you're an atheist person in public. You don't have a big audience to lose. And Dillahunty does this full time. So I think he has to like really consider the angles in a way that probably would disgust the average person. But it's like, well, if I want to keep making enough money to make a living, I'm going to put up with more stuff than I probably would.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about
I don't know. It's hard to say because the ACA has been through its own issues, and you will appreciate the fact that when that happened, a lot of people who just dumped you on the sidewalk actually gave, Matt Dillahunty a call and talked to him about it and gave him his quote unquote day in court. And most of them, after listening to him, were like, okay, never mind. Don't really.
Funny how that works. Yeah, it's funny how that works. Of course, he had a lot more pull than I ever did, and whatever.
Well, I mean, I think people are kind of starting to turn on him a bit more than there's going to be the loyal people to him, but it seems like people are kind of like, not so much about it anymore. I mean, I think it's good to be skeptical, right? I think people are selectively skeptical. Like we can be skeptical about something if it's associated with a religion, but if it's associated with our group, I mean, I thought about like ReasonCon, like when I first went there, if Jeannie's listening, take a drink. ReasonCon, when I went there, it was all about, we were all in it together. And then over time, it's like, oh, you know what? Some people in our community, no, don't need to be friends with them. I think you have to accept that. Like, I think you get this weird idea like, well, we had this thing in common, so we're all going to get along and be friends. And you know what? Humans don't do that. People are shitty to each other. People who you thought they're going to be friends forever. They're going to be in old folks' homes together. And then like one thing happens and they are done with each other. That look on your face was not good. What do you have there? Is that still your beer?
Friends forever bullshit. I mean, like you know, what happened with the shunning. There was a couple, that stuck around. And so, but you just don't ever know, man. Some people ditch you in a heartbeat. And even though you thought you were cool with them, they'll just fucking get rid of your ass. But whatever. What it is, it is what it is. But to kind of scroll back to the shitty Phoenix or whatever.
The shitty Phoenix.
So
the worst Harry Potter book of them all, by the way.
Very good. I like that. So to sum it all up, Silverman has his new thing as a firebrand for good, right? He was consensual with Beth Presswood, even though they had some kinky, crazy sex. Apparently, he should not have done it because he was leader of the American Atheists. He's hedging his bets on that. So he's admitting they could have fired him for that. So why the fuck? I understand why you're suing him. Why are you suing?
I wish I remembered the details, but I feel like he was suing mostly about the financial thing. But he did include like the names of the people who accused him of sexual impropriety. Because I mean, that's the thing. People, when we have all these atheist friends on Facebook. Well, I do. I don't know if you do anymore, but when they have discussions about this, people are like, "Well, he hasn't been tried in court," and I'm like, that is a very low percentage of any sexual misconduct. What is that? 5%, 10% of even ones people talk about end up going to court. Like none of this is going to go to court for any reason except for the Silverman suing people part. I mean, it's just people behaving badly, and when we have leaders that doesn't necessarily show well for our community, it shows that we might just be as bad as everybody else. So
like literally every other human organization on the planet, like we're not special.
I mean, the way you see people defending Trump, the way you see people defending the Catholics who are covering up all the kid stuff, and had a guest on this week who's ex-Mormon, it's the line from the Book of Mormon, in 1978, God changed his mind about black people, that kind of thing. And they're just that just gets, I'm probably going to get a strike for that. I posted part of Hasa Diga Ibawai on my, on one episode, and I got like a note like, hey, you can't post that. I'm like, shit. I see people posting parts of songs on podcasts all the time, and I was like,
wait, you
gotta. I got like an official strike on YouTube for it, so I got rid of the version that had it on there.
That's weird.
Although I think I sang it myself this week, so maybe that'll be on there.
Oh, wait a minute! You got a strike because
I played a version of the song. I only played like a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that happened. You remember Facebook karaoke? Yeah, I can't.
I heard that. Yeah, I know. Like, I think I asked Andrew Torres once, like, can I do a karaoke song? He's like, well, you better ask the person who posted the karaoke version of a song. I'm like, man, never mind. Yeah,
I can't do it anymore because they bleep it all, they mute it all out because they've got the thing now where it can tell what music it is, and I'm like, well, you've ruined Facebook karaoke.
And despite your voice, they can figure it out. That's impressive, man. Those Russian bots are good.
The social network.
Yeah, Facebook.
So, that's fine. Whatever's going on with that. I do not encourage any of you to message David Silverman and tell him what a piece of shit he is. I do not condone that. I do not condone anything.
I think I must have unfriended him on Facebook because it posted on there. It's almost like when you get like an ex-girlfriend coming up on your Facebook feed, like, hey, this is someone you could be friends with. And it's like he came up and I'm like, no.
I think I'm good.
Not happening.
Don't get on Twitter and bombard them with horrible. tweets. Do not get bots that all they do on Twitter is bombard Silverman with horrible, funny tweets. Don't do that if you have the capacity. Don't do that.
Mr. Atheist Pants, yeah.
So Mr. Atheist Pants on Twitter, just so you know. do not do that. Anyway, we're gonna leave that alone. This douchebag. But I did want to ask you, what else is there? I mean, he's fiber. He's coming back. He's gonna fucking. You know what's gonna happen. He's gonna fucking. He's just gonna go with less followers. It's all, and that's still plenty. And what was he trying to? He was trying to get with some organization, but I can't remember. Initially, I thought it was going to be Atheist Republic because I saw he was on there. But I mean, who fucking knows? I mean, you joked about the Mythicist Milwaukee, which is no longer that. It's called something else, sponsored by some other organization.
There was that thing Minds, and they were doing a conference that was going to be like somewhere in New Jersey, but people like threatened the buildings, and then they moved to Philadelphia. And I actually tried to reach out to like a journalist who was covering it, but I didn't get a response because I was just like, what was it like to be there? Because that was the same people that like cheered the Sargon tweet that I will not repeat. But if you know the 3 words, the Sargon tweet, you might know what that is and how terrible it is and how people applauded it. And then people were like, no, we're applauding free speech, not being a terrible person.
No, that's what it was. It's called Minds Best. They're in cooperation with Mythicist Milwaukee. They're doing another one of those conferences.
Well, they're expanding now that they've reached like these. When you see like the Shoe on Head has like 1 million followers, I'm like, what? Huh?
Shoe on a man named Shoe on Head has 1 million. But why am I surprised?
Not a man.
Who is our? Well, whatever. It's a woman. Oh, is it?
I'm pretty. Yeah. Oh. And then there's this, what is it, the Armored Skeptic. I mean, there's a lot of people that, like, when you first get into atheism, you're like, oh, this is cool. And then, like, they all became super anti-feminist SJW types. And it's like, okay, you know what? Any group that exists, I think we've already pretty much covered that the atheist community has, our share of assholes. There are bad actors everywhere. But I feel like the SJW scourge might not be as much of a problem as the conservative, fascist types. If you're against Antifa, then what are you pro? I mean, that makes it a pretty easy math, you'd think.
It's a double negative, right? It's a double negative, right?
They're the real fascists. I mean, they're doing what the president does. You accuse people of doing what you're doing, and enough people believe you, and you just keep getting away with it, and it's all good.
No, it's totally fine. I'm totally cool with it.
Fascism
awesome. No, civil wars are fun. And fascist around was fun. So
one of his biggest supporters is isn't the senator from your area? Marsha Blackburn, is that her name?
Do not speak of her.
I mean, I think both of the senators running in Georgia were like leaving. So
yeah, there are a lot of them.
We have a shot. Like it feels like Georgia might be purple, but the problem is our governor just changed the voter thing to his own system, so it's unlikely. I'm pretty sure Stacey Abrams may have won, but he basically had the company that owned the contract on the voting systems, and then they got rid of all the results. Like they're gone. I'm like, we're basically in a third world country here in Georgia, except for Atlanta. It's strange.
It's voter oppression. Any other
Plus, we don't sell high alcohol beer in this state. 14%? Are you kidding me? Who can drink 14% beer? Come on, it's not right.
How much more do you need?
Not much. I don't
think because I had what was it? That backwoods, what was underground brown or something? I don't remember. The new founders brown ale.
I mean, these two are 11%ish. That's pretty high, yeah.
That was really pretty.
Just so you can. I mean, I had one last week during the show, and it might have been like 15. It was pretty good. There's one that Worldwide Stout. That's like 18.
I've got it. I guess I got to break down and at least buy one, but they're $20 a fucking bottle. It's just difficult for me to justify it for a little fucking regular bottle of beer.
It's
I mean,
just
they should
so you
better.
can. I mean, that's not. It's a little bit 10%, like 8% and beyond. That's pretty high. That's pretty. You can feel it.
Yeah, 8% is about where the limit is as far as where you start getting boozier, I guess. So, all right, done with Silverman. He's
Are
gonna
you?
make a name. He's gonna make a name for. I know. It's like I'm done with Silverman, and then I say more.
Mm-hmm.
But I did want to ask you about the whole thing with the ACA because I never quite understood what happened.
Well, there was a YouTuber, a British YouTuber. See, if you have a British accent, I feel like you can get away with more stuff. I think that's why Sargon and Milo got to be so popular because they don't say anything interesting. They just have this British accent that people like. So it was this Rationality Rules
Yeah. Okay.
did a YouTube video basically saying that trans women have an unfair advantage
Okay. Yeah.
in competitions, and a
I
lot of
remember that
people
video.
were like, you know what? I'm not sure if that was a good idea. And Rationality Rules came to Austin, did all the shows, and so the leadership of ACA was like, you know what? We're going to apologize just because of the way the trans community gets shit on all the time. And people got so mad they had to retract the apology. And then, like, a lot of the leadership from that group got booted out. And people who have been with the was it Atheist Community of Austin is what it's called, for like 20, 30 years left. And Kevin Logan did a show with some of the people. It was like the Godless Bitches, like hosts were there and explained what happened. And a lot of the people in that community just left because of this thing. And now they have a new, growing from the Phoenix group that's still there. And I'm still a little confused as to why, like, so many people left this group they've been with for so many years because they decided to support a bad video. And really, so what Rationality Rules was like, okay, I'm going to apologize, do an apology video. And his apology video was, I know some trans people who agree with me. That was his video, pretty much. Like, he didn't really apologize and didn't really explain the science that was kind of off. And that led to one of the biggest atheist groups in the whole country just kind of disintegrating. And it still exists, and there's still some people there. But the whole situation is like I think people are more on edge in general just because we decided to allow a guy to run for president who's not qualified to do anything except be president, apparently, in our country. And people are just more on edge, and they just are ready. They just can't put up with shit. And it seemed like, why would you? I just didn't get it. Like, I posted, I think, on Twitter once, like, I don't think I need to know Rationality Rules anymore because that one video looked terrible. And somebody's like, whoa, way to be skeptic. And I'm like, I think we all have the right to just kind of say no to someone who has content that seems kind of questionable. But the whole thing's a mess. And I can see the people just saying, you know what, I just don't want to deal with any drama anymore. But it's just like the people who get mad about people who kneel for the national anthem or football games. It's like, the guy sat down and then he actually talked to a veteran. The veteran's like, well, we take a knee when we're honoring people who've died. So Colin Kaepernick takes a knee, and what happens? Taking a knee becomes this terrible, awful, un-American thing. But people just they don't want politics in their blank, but politics is in everything. No matter what you're involved with, there's going to be politics. There's politics in beer. Come on. Why couldn't you buy beer in bottle shops or in breweries in Georgia for years? Because the people owned the legislature and they just gave money to not allow it. So if you want no politics in your blank, you're just trying to ignore problems that people have that some people can't ignore it. We can. White guys. Well, not maybe bearded. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm immune.
I'm just blabbering at this point. It's all good.
No, but you're right. It's
Talking too much because I'm used to just asking a question and I'm like, oh, I can just sip beer for the next 10 minutes. Awesome.
Well, that's
what I'm all about in my show.
I guess I could tease my next episode, which isn't going to be video. It's going to be just audio. Is the Dave Warnock from Dying Out Loud. He has ALS, and he's basically going around the country telling you about everybody's story and just traveling and shit. Because he's 5 years. He's been on everything. Hell, he went on ETA a couple of times, actually. So you should have him on, Zach.
I should, yeah. Everybody's allowed on my show only after you've had them on, right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
did you ever Keem on your show? I don't know.
I was on his, actually. I don't think I ever had him on, huh?
You're missing out. Plus, he likes good beer, so that's my people.
Maybe I should do that. Maybe you get one shot with getting some money before I do for once. You're welcome.
I try to get permission first. That's the goal.
I don't know if you have heard Conversations with God podcast.
Yep.
I had him on. He's pretty cool. He was just on Everyone's Agnostic a couple of weeks ago.
He's doing the rounds because it was, I think, Godless Heathens, which is the show I actually did a live show with in Atlanta. And the guy who hosts it's like, well, we don't actually have guests on. So this guy reached out to me. So go on. And I'm like, it's cool because he's he's a British guy who lives in Australia, and he actually sang me a song live on air, which was cool. And he talks to God. I mean, what's not like, right?
That's another one you should. He's pretty cool. He's funny.
I had him on. I already got it. I'm there. I'm already ahead of you.
When?
A few episodes ago.
And
then he said he was going to talk about it on his show, and I listened to a couple episodes and it didn't happen. I'm like, all right, I tried, man. God and his helicopter. He insults God in pretty creative ways too, which I think is nice.
Bubble
brained,
maggot mouth, stuff like that.
Exactly.
It's pretty short. It's only like 20 minutes, but he puts fucking tons of time into that little 20 minutes.
I know, he does all this editing and stuff. Any show that starts with music, I'm like, fast forward. I'm like, come on, people.
Yeah. But what do you think about this? I mean, just in general, this whole fucking atheist acting really seems right word and shit. Like, not just Silverman, just in general, it seems like a lot of them are just kind of, going alt-right or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I just think, what I said before about people just don't want their politics in anything, and some people just don't have the option. If you're trans, you're probably sick of explaining what trans is, but you know what? Most people don't know, so you have to and you have to constantly be defending your right to exist, and some people just are tired of hearing about that because they try to be in this center, but people on a certain side tends to be the right side, not the correct side, but the alt-right side, tend to kind of lie and obfuscate what they're trying to do. And so when you get in the middle, you're actually leaning right. And that's the way, I really feel people are joking about oh, Biden should run for the Republican nomination. It's yeah, it kind of is. That's because the Democratic Party of America is willing to compromise, and the Republican Party says, fuck you. And so we get compromised, but we end up getting what the other side gets. We end up getting the government trying to get rid of the Obamacare, which is basically a Republican plan, and that's a Democratic thing now. And I don't know, I just think people just don't see that there are some actors who are not really acting in their best interest. They're just trying to win. I mean, the grievance study people doing a conference that's basically a alt-right Christian thing, and then Richard Dawkins is cool, I like these people because they say how it is, and it's they did very that's like one of our top names, and and he's defending a group of people who did very bad like academics that didn't actually succeed at what they were trying to do. I mean, people keep failing, but they keep failing and succeeding in a way. Like it's just such a strange time that people can make these claims and there's nothing to back it up. Kind of like anti-climate change people, nothing to back their stuff up, nothing to back up the apologetics for Christianity. But there are just so many of them, and people are just like, I kind of like it, like they're saying, they're saying what they feel, and it's fine, and everybody should get, free speech, which, if the alt-right people had their way, we wouldn't have free speech anymore. But they're using it to their advantage. And
funny how that works.
We have a president who's basically like saying, I mean, the whole bit today with the moot, I just had to, it was a thing that like Obama said as a joke, like in 2011, like, oh, they probably want to have moats and like snakes and stuff. And the president we have is just he just falls for so much shit, which is a good percentage of the atheist community, that he's like, yeah, let's have snakes and stuff. And then he's like, no, the mainstream media says I wanted to have snakes and stuff. And then he uses moot in all caps. And sometimes I think the person who does a lot of his social media on purpose misspells words and capitalizes words that shouldn't be, because that's his quote unquote brand, is to play dumb. And people are like, hey, he's dumb just like I am. Wait a second.
Well, that's the same reason W.
Like, all these years, it's like, oh, the elitist lefties. I'm like, Trump went to a fucking Ivy League school and probably faked his way through it.
Yeah, he faked his way.
He is the elite, but people follow him because we have this whole complex. Like, we have to have this strong leader, even though he clearly isn't. I mean, I don't even know, people comparing to Hitler, like how good a leader Hitler was, but he sure took advantage of the time and place he was in
he
wishes he was Hitler, yeah. Well, I mean, he's talking about like, oh, treason and killing people. And it's like, yeah, you're committing treason. Like, people are buying rooms at your hotel and not even staying there. Emoluments clause? Jimmy Carter to get rid of his peanut farm when he was president, and you're just cashing in? You're making our military stay at your bases on the way to like Europe? It's like, come on.
Oh, yeah, and he's cutting.
Everything's so obvious.
He's cutting money to the bases because some of that money he's taking away from the wall.
Oh, the wall that he talks about is being built when it's not being built.
Which he can't do now. The Congress revoked the state of emergency. So he can't do that shit now. He can't take the funds from...
But he will. I mean, there has to be this understanding that the right wing isn't really playing by the rules anymore. Like Obama had a Supreme Court nominee that he made very centrist, and they were like, no. And I feel like he could have made that happen. But he was trying to play by rules
all the way. Because what's
the
rules
that don't apply anymore? I mean, in North Carolina, the Republican Party cheated to win, and they're like, okay, we'll have another election. And what happened? They won. Even though their party like took absentee ballots and like threw them in the trash, and they were like, yeah, let's have another election.
Yeah, they still won.
Gerrymandered North Carolina state.
Although to be
fair and free elections anymore. That's why the whole hey, let's vote Trump out. I'm like, I feel like Trump has to lose by like 10 to 15% to actually lose.
He would have to, especially in the red states. Yeah.
They were saying that our state was kind of purple, and it's like, yeah, I don't think so. We're not ready yet. We're getting there in certain parts of the state, but not the whole state.
It's Atlanta and the surrounding counties. That's it. You're telling me there's nobody yet.
No.
So no, you brought up the grievance studies thing, and I'm glad you brought that up because I just remembered Dawkins tweeting that out, and I responded to him, which of course, what's the point? He's like, dude, didn't you learn anything? You should have stayed your ass off Twitter. I mean, every time he goes home,
I mean, the more I looked into it, the more I was like, oh, so it's like basically they're invited and they created this conference, but it is like a Christian
Yeah, that was so
dominionist kind of group. And I don't think any of the three are really Christian, but they're like,
no,
anybody who's going to pay us to go to a conference in London, sure.
I mean, I didn't even know there was more than one. I went back and looked at it, and there's like one of them, Fleckrose, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
Actually used a pseudonym to do one of the papers or whatever. And I didn't know like papers.
I mean, the whole point of the grievance study thing was to show that like women's studies was crap, but all they really showed was if you want to pay, you can get a paper published. And that seems to be an indictment of a system where people basically can pay to get stuff published, but it doesn't prove that. And plus, I think I lost Chris. I can't tell. You're still there. Okay.
Yeah. I know.
It didn't seem great. Like James Lindsay was on, and I remember him having some kind of weird argument with Eli Bosnick about like Disney crows not being racist. And it was a very strange, and I stopped following him on Twitter, but it's like Helen Pluck, I got rid of her too. And it was just like, I don't need like a Bogosian. Like I had even asked Karen Garst because she knew him pretty well. And she's like, yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that guy. Because there was a whole podcast that was on, and it was about like, yeah, he basically just sleeps with his students, and I think he's trying to get fired and make a name for himself. And he just says he has a new book out, and so does Lindsay. And they're all about like James Lindsay just does that like Western culture, aka Christianity, is the reason why we're so awesome. And I, huh? And plus, they're all like experts in one field, and what they're trying to do, that's not what they got master's degrees in. They're just talking shit, and people are like, that sounds good. I mean, that's the problem with a lot of our politics is like people say stuff like that sounds good, but does it actually hold up? And it never does. But people don't think that deeply because there's just so much distraction and terribleness going on now, and that's where we are. That's why there's beer. Well, there's not much left, so it's sad.
I got to figure out. So I need to take a poll. I got those set up now, and there's a wall behind me. I need a good poster. I'm wondering if I should put a beer poster or a cat poster, or why not both? A beer and a cat.
Exactly.
Is there a beer cat poster? Maybe a beer cat poster.
I feel like the beer cat people can say.
Oh, that's right, the beer.
I love seeing those because it's like, hey, we just posed this sleeping cat next to a beer. Okay, it's a Twitter account. Okay, sure.
Yeah, cats don't give a fuck.
You know, they're like at a brewery. I'm like, yeah, we have a brewery cat. Yeah, that cat just lives in the brewery and naps all the time.
It probably eats if there's any rats getting in the grain, I guess.
My cats don't care about people food. I know they don't care. Like maybe they sniffed it once and like, oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
what is that?
Yeah. They never do.
What have you done to my water? It's gross.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking for that, but you know, it's sad to me, really. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because I do remember when James Lindsay first came into, and I'm trying to remember. At first, he was trying to. I think it was Eli, but I think it was Thomas Smith too, or they were talking about something, and he kind of engaged him in an honest way, and then he obviously just didn't give a fuck about that. He just kept going further right or whatever. And that's, you know, I mean, what's with white guys? You know,
I don't know. People just, I mean, clearly they got a lot of love from the community for doing what they did. And I mean, the initial, the so-called hoax thing they didn't really succeed, but everybody assumed it did. And I think, I guess a lot of being like a social media star is just having a lot of bluster and just being very confident, even if you're full of shit. And I think some people can do that really well. I feel like they did, and they just jumped on something. It's a time and place. I don't know. We'll see what happens in 10 years when we're living in Gilead. We'll see what, how it all goes. Because I just finished reading The Handmaid's Tale. Spoiler alert. No.
Shit. I've stopped watching that show though, because it's just like pointless.
I watched 2 episodes and it was so depressing. I'm like, I can't imagine I will enjoy this at all.
2 seasons. 2 seasons.
I think they've done 3 now.
Yeah, but
they're
that's
on 3. I mean, it's going to go as long as they
too
want.
many. No, but it's how long can you? I don't know.
I don't know. I just finished reading the book, and I swear I was watching like episode 2, and something that happened in episode 2 of the show was like 85% into the book. There isn't that much. There isn't that much plot. I know she just did a sequel.
It should have been like. Oh yeah, she just put out a
sequel. It all turns around in the sequel because in the book itself, it's not.
She saw. Yeah, she saw that money. She saw the money opportunity.
I mean, she's written like 60, 70 books. I mean,
no,
one that's a hit. She's like, I'm going there. Every time, like, I saw at a book fair the author of the books that became the True Blood show, and there was like a question about it, and she's like, I love it. And it's like, why would, like, if you're an author of a book and it becomes a TV show, you're like, this is great. I get all this money. And usually you're not writing the show, and you're like, I don't know, it's going to go in a totally different direction. I don't care. The checks are clear, and it's good.
Apparently,
it's hard to make a living as an author unless you're an alt-right shill. I mean, it's just tough. Richard Dawkins' new book, get him on your show.
I didn't know that. How to be a white guy and make money? I mean, what is it? Oh, white British guy, especially. That
Christian, I don't know. It's another, I don't know. Exactly. It's all it's about is I don't know.
Well, let's sum things up nicely here. As we talked about the shitty Phoenix, Dave Silverman's still a motherfucking asshole. White people, white atheists are always going to try to make that money off the alt-right idiots. And James Lindsay, Peter Boghossian, Helen Pluck-Rose wrote some bad papers, and they thought they fooled people with made fun of people with those living those trans people, but really they just proved that people can get anything they want for money, which we already knew that. Is that about to sum it up? Oh yeah, and you're drinking
beer,
Dragon Milk, and I'm drinking Oktoberfest. So just another day in the life of 2 pointless white guys discussing pointless things and drinking beer occasionally. So
thank you for saying occasionally. That was very nice of you.
Oh, I'm not talking about me. No, that's you. You like have 2 and go to sleep. I'm like, loser.
Just get started, huh? Let's get to Nashville and get to a brewery, maybe a Southern Grist or Yazoo. Yeah, we'll find a place.
Southern Grist actually has some good stuff. I just saw it come out. 2
locations too.
So yeah, if you ever decide you're going to come out and not be doing some other things, you got to tell me ahead of time. Make room in your busy schedule for me. I don't want you to put yourself out.
Try to get up there. I am going on a cruise in about 3 weeks, and then maybe a week or 2 after that. I need to get up to Nashville. So
wait a minute. Wait, a fucking cruise to where?
To New England, in fact.
What the fuck kind of cruise is that? I guess
so. We're flying into Boston, and we're going up the coast. We're going to be in Maine, and the best part is my wife told me, oh, there's one day we're going to Portland, Maine, and they have 34 breweries. And I'm like, I could go to 34 breweries. I could pull that off. And she's like, I don't know about 34.
That's the dumbest cruise I've ever heard of, Zach.
It's the whole fall leaves, and plus the way the weather's going, it's going to be 5 degrees every day. So we're not going to be bringing a sweater, I don't think.
It's still 100 degrees here. Jesus fucking Christ.
Exactly.
I don't even know what to do, but don't go in the comment section of anything where Greta, they had like a Greta thing here. I mean, she wasn't here, but like in solidarity, don't look at the comments. Don't look at the comments.
Yeah, in general, don't look at the comments.
We're just fucked. Be all optimistic. Nope, we're fucked. Because there's so many people who just, it's going to be cold next month, so that just proves your theory. No, idiot. Just do me a favor. Sterilize yourself and your family so you can't spread. Can we just do that?
You're doing accents, or it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
More of that.
That's what I'm here for. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm just not very optimistic about the future of the human race, just generally speaking.
I feel like that's the way to go right now.
Yeah, it's not like it's an unpopular opinion or anything. I mean, but I've been this way my whole life, so I don't know where everybody else has been with this. But as the time I've been alive, it's been fucking all downhill. Except
I feel
for
like you plan ahead though because of the beer. There's so much, You could become a prophet. It could happen.
Maybe. I don't like to bake very much. That's not a stretch. Grow the beard out, have crumbs in it.
Have cats crawling in it. Yeah.
The cats. Yeah. That's a good call. I like that. I'm gonna have to take that under advisement. I think.
You could fit 2 kittens in that thing.
They're not kittens anymore.
What is the cat status? How many right now?
Oh, I'm down to 2. I'm down to 2. Yeah, Callie and seriously, Callie just lays around. Seriously runs around like a mad cat and tortures my older fat cat.
It's like, hey, I'm a cat, and you know what I do? Nothing. So please respect that. Thank you.
Other than scratch on there, I'm like, get off my cat. And it's pointless. I got them a fancy tree. She scratches on that too, but then she scratches on everything else. Oh yeah, and she kicks litter everywhere, and then plays with water. So there's water and shit. I don't. You know how some cats will like put their paw in water and like scoop it out and shit. I don't get it.
But you have air conditioning around, right? Because
it's just. I mean,
last time I had you on, it was a little sweaty there.
Oh yeah.
Get you to wear a shirt, which we all appreciate. Because the glare is just, with the fur.
I don't need the negative feedback.
Okay. Well, you can ignore it. It's fine. You do that all the time. It's all good.
All right, Zach. Well, I guess I'm going to let you go do something important like whatever white guys do. Yeah. Loser.
Exactly.
Loser.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Welcome back to Show Life. It's fun, isn't it?
Well, until next time, thank you, Zach, and bye-bye now.
Bye. Takes longer in this thing for it to shut down. I'm just going to talk now.